I'm looking at your site. It goes to davidheavener.com/last-evangelist, another slash. And first of all, it's a great looking site. In a world with extreme government control, mark of the beast, persecution of believers, and more, follow FBI agent John Rhodes as he unravels the plan of the Antichrist and battles the one world order.
One of the first things I started researching was human trafficking. Now, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I discovered that the #1 state, supposedly in the United States, for human trafficking was Atlanta, Georgia. And the #1 county in Atlanta, Georgia was Cobb County. And in Cobb County, I found where there were 2 or 3 anti-human trafficking organizations. And as I started questioning these organizations and asking questions, which was my first, which was the big problem. They didn't want me to ask so many questions. I started digging deeper and found out some of this stuff was coming from those organizations. Okay, now I won't mention because I haven't bought my bulletproof vest yet. I interviewed a gal by the name of Annie LeBaire in Vegas. Flew out there and interviewed her. Did 2 interviews. She was an ex-prostitute, now a Christian, into human trafficking, and she confirmed things I was talking about, John. Could it be that some of the very people involved in the anti-human trafficking movement could be the very people at the core of it? And she confirmed it. That's #1. #2 is when I got into the FEMA camp and got into these death trains and got into, and I can't go too deep into this for certain reasons, but when I got into all this and started researching it, I'm going, oh my goodness, this can't be. #3, which was the shocker, was Hollywood. I started really, I'm from Hollywood. I've been involved in it all my life, and it was around me, but I just never paid any attention to it. How Hollywood is playing a major part right now, teaming with the deep state to condition the people to bring in what I consider the supermarket of the beast, and how it's happening, and people have no clue what's going on. And it's right in front of their face, and most Christians are supporting it.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people will say, you guys are messed up in the head. I really wish we were, for the sake of a lot of people that are going to be bleeding out when these people get their way, which they will. Look, I say again, they're not even disguising what their intention is anymore.
Yeah.
It is so in your face now.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, David, the more in your face they are, the less people believe they are serious.
Yeah.
It's really strange. You would think that, wait a minute, this thing's getting bigger. It's like, oh, it's getting bigger. It must be a balloon. It's just a balloon.
Right. I know. I look around and I see people brain dead, and I go, can't you see it's right in front of you? But you see, there's 2 things, John. First of all, we're dealing with the spiritual condition.
Absolutely.
That's #1. That their eyes have been blinded. Okay, totally covered with darkness, totally covered with Satan, because they haven't given themselves over to God. That's #1. But past that, you get to the point where I believe the human psyche does not want to acknowledge when they see danger, so they block it out. They give it an excuse. They put another label on it. You can even see that with the modern day churches. Go walk into any Six Flags Over Jesus church and ask them if you can get up in the pulpit and just spend 5 minutes talking about the deep state, or talking about, what's going on with the things you and I are talking, cashless society, mark of the beast. Okay. Well, they'll tell you that stuff doesn't exist. They'll tell you that's just fairy tale stuff. Are you kidding me? And it's right in front of your face. I mean, it's right there, and so no, and that's what the so-called Christian community. Now, if they block it out, imagine what somebody doesn't even want to look at God thinks about it. They don't even, they'll call it something else,
It's disturbing, but at the same time, when you see what is written in Scripture coming to pass, it's not worrying at all. In fact, in some way, it's actually comforting, because you know that all this blood and dying is about to, it'll get worse, and then it's going to get a lot better.
Yeah.
It's funny. California seems to be that there's so much power centralized there. We know CIA's all over the media. We know CIA's all over the movies too. We know this. In fact, a fellow that I interviewed on Coast to Coast AM about his book, The Kryptos Conundrum, showed up some months ago as one of the people who reviews screenplays and so forth. Make sure the agency is cast in a good light, I suppose. I thought he was retired, but always remember, folks, there is no X in that alphabet bunch. There is no X. Gotcha. All right. Now, California's new laws to imprison whom?
Okay, so they're trying to pass, and they will pass it eventually. And the laws are pretty much, let me see if I can pull it up here just to give you an idea, but the laws basically want to confine anyone of faith, specifically a pastor, such as myself, or someone like you who is spiritual, who's faith-based in the media. They want to dissuade us from speaking out against homosexuality, speaking out against transgender, okay, to the point that even if that person doesn't want to be a homosexual, and they come to you and they say, would you help me not be, you cannot counsel them. That's one law that they're passing. They tried, it didn't work, but they're going to bring it up again. The other law is the law about the books. If you refer a book to them that has information in it that's anti-gay, homosexual, and by the way, that's the Bible, then that's imprisonment, and that's a fine, or both. And these are laws that they will pass. California will pass that. And so people like myself are going to have to be very careful if we're in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, in California, talking about that, because they could haul you away.